Hello and welcome, my connoisseurs of movies, TV show, and literature. I almost called you something else entirely, which is a big no-no. I was watching a different YouTuber. I almost called you her people, and you're not her people. You're my people. You could be her people. If you want to know who I'm talking about, leave me a message, and I will tell you in the comments. My connoisseurs. You are my connoisseurs of movies, TV show, and literature. And you may call me Luke Garu. And we're going to talk about a crazy thief. Now, you heard me talk about a lot of things on this channel. And I do not like the fact that people shy away from terms that cause pain, like abortions and rape and trafficking and racism. And all the terms I have just used could get me either demonetized if I got big enough or put into a strike zone, which is sad because these are terms that should not be shied away from and need to be talked about in their nitty-gritty, damaging forms. And in this case, the movie we are going to be talking about shows a very clever case of kidnapping. And it stars my chocolate vine flavor, Richard Armitage, as James Lewis, Julie Delpay as Isabelle Perrault, Daniel Burrell as Thomas Fisher, and Sophia Ali as Zoe Perrault Lewis. Now, what does a movie about a divorced couple arguing over custody and visitation rights of their child have to do with kidnapping? I can hear you asking that. And the movie is called My Zoe. Pay very close attention to this image. I am spoiling it big time just by showing you this case, because this image is the last image of the movie. And pay particular attention to that smile, because she is next level cruel for what she does. Now, the movie starts with James and Isabel fighting over visitation times. And while they are at mediation, while they are with a mediator to make amendments to the visitation, because Isabel keeps saying James is having too much time with her daughter, which is not true. Zoe's left in the care of her babysitter, where she falls and hits her head. Now, children bump their heads all the time, or they're playing and they fall and land against something. It is the nature of being an active child. You're going to get bumps and bruises. Unfortunately, Zoe's sitter was on the younger side. She was a teenager, and she failed to inform Isabel that after Zoe hit her head, she complained about feeling dizzy and having a headache, and that she had become very lethargic for the rest of the day. That is one of the rare complications of hitting your head. It was a brain bleed. And Zoe ends up dying from this. So, how can there be a kidnapping if Zoe died? Well, Isabella's line of work allows her a few liberties that a normal or less connected person would have. She takes cell samples from Zoe's arm and sends them to a person who specializes in vitro fertilization. Enter Thomas Fisher, played by Mr. Burr. She wants him to clone Zoe. When James finds out, he's livid. Because he's right. That's my daughter too. You have no right to do that to her. Specifically, since the hospital where Zoe was treated said they needed both mother and father consent to make Zoe an organ donor. And it took every ounce of convincing ability James had to get Isabella to sign those papers so other parents wouldn't go through what they're going through. What's really sad is, from the sounds of it, they lost a few of the organs because Isabel was dragging her feet on signing the papers. Now, Thomas is a brilliant in vitro fertilization specialist. However, he's always wanted to get into cloning. And Zoe presented him with the perfect opportunity to clone her in plain sight. Isabella had 3 viable embryos that took to Zoe's DNA being added to it. 2 of her eggs and a donor egg. Her 2 eggs were put back in Isabel. She loses them. She loses one of them immediately after James said, "You have no right to do this to my daughter without my permission." Because she was a living, breathing human being. We had custody, and her body parts are still under my jurisdiction too, because the courts have already ruled that. Now, the problem, aside from not having James's approval for using parts of Zoe to create Zoe again, is that the donor egg thrived. It grew and developed into Zoe. And this Zoe was raised to think mommy's affair partner was her biological father. She devastates James at this point of the movie. James is staring at his dead little girl, alive and well in her mother's arms, and he cannot tell her that, biologically speaking, he's her father. Because she doesn't allow it. Because she introduced James as an old friend of mommy's. Now, if James really wanted to be a heartless dog and cruel, he could have went one further and gone to the authorities and said, the child my ex-wife has is a near perfect genetic match to the daughter we lost in Germany. somehow she was able to clone our daughter, which would have opened Isabel up to all sorts of legal ramifications, because cloning of human beings is illegal all over the world. And then it would have put Zoe in a laboratory to figure out why she survived the cloning process. But there's another problem with Zoe too. She is not the 100% carbon copy of Zoe. I say that because it was a donor egg she started developing in. So that's one part dilution of Zoe's DNA. And then because of all the medical research that has gone into fetal development that has proven that mommies and fetuses intermingle DNA through their placentas and everything, and that parts of the baby's DNA, whether it's to term or not, stays in mommy. It means that Zoe too, who was not put in Isabel, didn't get Zoe's original DNA, didn't get clones 1 or 2, and didn't get Isabel's DNA back. It got the donor's egg, the surrogate's DNA, and the 2 sons that the surrogate birthed before she carried Zoe too. That's 4 things that make Zoe 2 not Zoe. Even though Isabel, I keep calling her.
That's getting her name wrong.
I don't like her. And it's very similar to Richard's character's sister in BBC Robin Hood, who was another trash woman. Yeah, her name is Isabel, not Isabella. That's Guy of Gisborne's sister in BBC's Robin Hood. But apparently they're interchangeable to me because, like I said, they're both trash women. And I say that because instead of mourning the loss of her child and coming to terms with, yes, this horrible thing happened, she went to the extreme measure of making a Frankenstein, an amalgamation that had her daughter's face. I mean, granted, Thomas tried to explain the unethical reasons why you shouldn't be cloning. It didn't stop him from doing it because he wanted to prove it could be done, which is dumb. It is doing it because you can do it is not good science. Period. But have you seen my Zoe? Will you see it just to watch the debate and figure out why she went to this extreme? Will you watch it and say, if I had the money and resources, I'd do the same thing? Let me know in the comments. Kindness is the key to understanding, so be kind to me and be kind to each other. Tend to whatever injuries the like button has sustained throughout its many overuses on the internet. Rescue the subscribe button from zombies and ring the bell to be notified of new videos and to draw the zombies away from you as you, the like button and the subscribe button, escape in the opposite direction. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye!